Yeah, yeah. What they say? I'm so divine, I'm so divine. Imperfection, perfection, my presence shines. My mental is parasailing maritime. They say I'm destined to read the palm line. Yeah, I'm so divine, I'm so divine. Imperfection, perfection, my presence shines. My mental is parasailing maritime. They say I'm destined to read the palm line. Yeah, I'm so divine.
Welcome to episode 15. Today we're going to talk about landlords versus tenants. What's going on, guys?
Good, was good, man. It was good, man. We're back. We're back at 15. DT, you still with us?
For this year, I'm going to say temporarily. My contract expired.
You need an extension? Or
you negotiate things, you know what I'm saying? I got other offers from other people. Just let you guys know that.
Just don't pull Antonio Brown and jump off the field during mid game.
If my ankle hurts, it's on you. It's not on me.
Guys, well, welcome to the show. You know, we're gonna talk about tenants versus landlords. We always like to give both sides of the coins. You know, the pros and cons of being a landlord. You know, and the pros and cons of being a tenant, and how they kind of intermingle and how it intertwines. Obviously.
In this age or just in general,
especially in today's market.
Yeah, definitely in today's market.
Okay.
You know, obviously there's general things we'll speak about, but definitely in this market as well.
COVID for sure. Absolutely.
So you know, obviously before we were landlords here, we've been tenants somewhere, so we've experienced it ourselves on both sides. Yeah. So you have your stories, I have my story. You know, I just want to get into it. You know, we were all brought up kind of, you know, in the same type of environments where, you know, maybe the neighborhoods weren't great, or maybe the landlords weren't attentive. You know, it's the best way I can put that.
Slumlords.
they weren't attentive.
That was very well said.
Yeah, that was very well put. Very kind. But I'm gonna go straight to slumlords. Go ahead.
and then you have. You know, and I remember, you know, and I love your mom, but I remember sometimes my mom being late with the rent, you know, and what that's like on the other side, you know, as a landlord, when you have bills to pay, you know, it's almost that the landlord is looked at as not having any needs, or, you know, it doesn't matter because they're rich or whatever that may be, or whatever it may seem like, you know, but that's not always the reality. You know,
definitely not the reality.
I don't know.
You know, they may be hanging on the same way you're hanging on, but they took a chance to invest, right?
They took the chance, and that one property is what they got that they're hanging on, and you're not paying.
Right.
So as much.
Jerry, let me stop you. Let's jump right into it, right? So what is some of the struggles that a landlord has to deal with when it comes to a tenant?
Everything he's responsible for everything across the board. So like, if you're not paying, he still has to pay that mortgage if he has a mortgage. If he doesn't pay, if he doesn't have a mortgage, he still has to pay the taxes at the end of the year for that. Right. He still has to pay the water bill for that. So you not paying the rent because you're going through whatever you're going through, he still has the responsibilities to keep you habitable. So if the toilet clogs up and you're not paying, the tenant's not paying for it, who's paying for it?
The owner.
The owner. So
hold on. Let me stop you real quick. All right. Now, does the landlord, are they obligated to pay for that? If there's a plumbing issue, are they obligated to do it?
1,000%.
Okay.
1,000%.
Okay. So they have no choice in the matter. You know, they still got to take care of the property, whether the tenant is paying or not. Is that correct?
Well, if you want to continue getting money and it's habitable, absolutely. Yeah, you got to continue the common repairs, like the other episodes that we had. It tells you about the common repairs. We speak about that. So all the common repairs that needs to be done, it falls on the landlord, even if he's not getting paid.
Right. And DT, you as well, the same thing. You agree with what he's saying. Everything falls in place.
He's
Is there anything that he missed?
absolutely wrong in everything he said. I don't even understand why he even said it.
Why I'm on this? Why I'm on this podcast? That's what it is. I don't even know why I'm here.
DT, is there anything you want to add on to as far as the landlords, what they go through? You know.
Yeah. Full disclaimer: everything he said was wrong.
Yeah, I don't even know why I'm here. I don't even know why I'm here. It's just skip me. Just skip me. Don't worry about it.
No, I mean, no, I couldn't agree more. You know what he's saying is correct. You know, you're obligated to provide a healthy and safe living place for any and all of your tenants, even if they're not paying. You know, $20,000 in arrears, a toilet clogs. You are obligated to go out and unclog that toilet, replace that toilet, repair the plumbing to that toilet. It doesn't matter if it's a $300, $200, $400 bill or a $4,000 or $5,000 bill. You're obligated to make that repair, whether the tenant's paying or not. So yeah, no, everything he said is tried and true. I mean, the guy's experienced. I mean, he's a veteran.
All right. Well, who's going to hold you? Who's going to hold the landlord to that?
The municipalities.
That's a good question, though. I'll tell you that.
The principal. Somebody I used to know back in the day used to say, "What happened?" He was like, "It was the principalities."
Principalities.
Is that the same guy with the young blood?
Young blood. He was like, what happened though? Because you know he got the greatest story ever. Oh, it's this, is that, and that. But what happened? He was like, it was the principalities. It just didn't work out. Here's the municipalities. You know, your local government, your city, your towns. You know, even insurances. You know, insurance companies hold you liable to certain fixes.
That's a gem.
Excuse me, but even 1,000%. But your towns, your cities, and your local municipalities will hold you, as well as like your Section 8s, your social services, all that stuff. So if there's any type of federal assistance on your rent payments, you're going to be held to a high standard. When you get city inspection, town inspection, those are high statement. You're going to be held to a high standard. So all those people keep you in check and make you and force you to be within code, if you will, or provide that healthy and safe living quarter.
1,000%.
So let's go through that, right? So you have Section 8 and social services. Mm-hmm. So in order for them to find out what's going on, what's going to happen is the tenant will make that phone call and go, hey, listen, these living conditions aren't right. So I'm not going to pay my portion, in Section 8. I know you're helping me out. You don't need to pay your portion. And obviously they'll come out and they'll make that determination on what's going on, right? But they will come back and go, hey, listen, here's your laundry list of what needs to get fixed, or you're not getting paid.
That's 1,000%.
Right. Because, and just to be clear, because, we're obligated to make the fixes and whatnot. And you go, oh, you got Section 8, shouldn't be a problem, right? Even if you're a slumlord. But with Section 8 doesn't mean they pay all of it. So they may want your portion as well. And you may be holding that, and they might feel a certain way and then not go out and fix what they have to fix. You still have the right to call Section 8, or whatever social service you're using, for them to come out and look at the property and still send that laundry list to that landlord.
Yes, sir.
Now you said insurance. How would an insurance know what's going on? These insurances, they do drive-bys.
Yeah.
Right. So if you have, we know. So if you come by, and you have a tree or branch hanging on a gutter or on the roof, guess what? They're gonna contact you. Yeah. You need to fix that.
And if you lie and say, I fixed it, well, they're gonna do a pop-up.
They're gonna double back. They're
gonna do a pop-up.
So, or they're gonna want pictures, right? So, and if the pictures aren't satisfactory, they're gonna drive by that property again.
And don't try to send them a picture of another house. We've seen
that as well.
We've seen it where they said, hey, your roof is deteriorated. You got to replace the roof, reshingle it, whatever the case may be. The person was like, oh man, that's going to cost me 10, 12,000. Okay, no problem. That's what's going to cost you. This is part of the game, right? So you have to repair it. There's no way around it. They were like, all right. Then they sent pics. The picture was of a roof of a house that was like almost the same color. The same color. And they were like, hey man, I did the roof. And then we sent that to the insurance company, and the insurance company was like, that's not even the same color house.
you did the front too? Get out of here, people.
Right.
So that's when you hear that and you hear DT say the insurance can hold you responsible, social services can hold you responsible.
Or they'll cancel all of them. Insurance, service, Section 8, they'll just stop like payment, stop services, everything. You got to figure it out.
Right.
Yeah. It's just hard, man. It's you believe the landlord or whoever you're renting from has multiple properties, and you think they got the money to do it, and that's not always the case, man. That's not. I just want to really clear that up. It's not always the case.
And you're 100% right. If you have a new investor, you don't know. You just don't know what type of pockets the landlord has. You don't know how many investment properties they have. You just don't know their situation. But it seems to be that, I know, especially for me, that you always assume like, oh, that person's rich.
Yeah, but what makes you say that?
Because you rent there. So if you rent there, you just feel.
So you're speaking from a tenant's perspective.
Yeah, it's just because me as well. When I was a tenant somewhere, I just thought the person that I'm renting from, he has a million of them. So it's his fault. It's his fault for not something not working. He got to fix it, and it's just a little harder. And now in this age, people are not even paying. Tenants are not paying you, and you're still complaining about backups. You're still complaining about the heat not working.
Yeah, stuff
like that. You think, oh, I'm still not paying, and I know he got money.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Or the person. We're in 2022, so you're the person.
Yeah, you're rich. 1,000% you're rich.
He can afford this house and he can afford the fixes,
right.
or she owns his house, she can afford the fixes. I mean, it's like I said, you don't know that landlord's situation. They could be a new investor. They could be on their second property and they could have just used all the funds they had to go and purchase that second property.
Yeah.
You don't, and now all of a sudden you're not paying.
And even now, right? So if I'm a tenant, which I don't think that our fan base is going to be tenant based, but let's just say that some of them frequent our podcast, right? So if I'm a tenant right now, I'm like, they're just making a bunch of excuses. You know what I'm saying? They're just that's all eye candy. It sounds good, you know what I mean? But let's break it down in a way where we could talk, savvy to both sides, right? So make it clear. As you said in the beginning, we all have been tenants before, maybe not that I'm, in this type of property or that type of property as the guy who's paying you rent. It might've been my mom. It might've been my dad but at some point in time, I was in this situation. Me personally, as an adult, when I first got married, I rented an apartment. So I paid the bill. So I was actually a tenant in an apartment complex paying a bill. So I have an experience, right? It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't the greatest. But I know how cut and dry they are. So I've seen kind of like the higher end. When I first got married, I had a little bit of a higher end. And when I say higher end, I'm not talking about like a, $20,000, $15,000 a month apartment. I'm talking about $1,000 a month apartment, 1 bedroom. But where I live, $1,000 a month apartment is like a higher end apartment. So even still, it's so cut and dry. Like you ask for maintenance, it's like it's a process, and you don't talk to nobody. You email, and they respond via email, and they come 2-3 days later. The only time they come right now is if like the fire alarm goes off, or if you make a call to this certain number they got, and you leave a message about a water leak, and they'll come right now. Because other than that, like if you got no heat, they'll be there in a couple of days.
Correct.
What I'm saying? If the lights are flickering, they'll be there in a couple of days.
Right. So that's a perfect segue, right?
Yeah, I'm about to say, yeah.
Because now as a tenant and you feel that, you're like, man, forget the landlord.
Right.
So you want your money from me on time. And then when I need heat, you're not on time. I gotta wait 2 days. I gotta wait 3 days. Right. I have to figure it out into the morning. or you're ready.
And I don't want to be biased, and I'm not going to be biased with it because I am a landlord
at all. So, I'm gonna give you both sides. You know, right. we all right.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. So for me, if I'm a tenant and you need to have, if you have 4 units, if you have 8 units and you're a landlord, you need to treat every tenant like it's your one and only tenant. Because just because, let's say you have a 3-unit here and 2 unit there, and you have 5 units altogether, and the 3-unit you're making a lot of money at. So the 2-unit, these guys pay me whenever, so F them. They're never gonna pay you, right. So you're always gonna be behind the dollar.
Yeah.
If you treat each one of them like you're the only tenant you have, you're gonna have that bag. You're gonna have that 5 units.
So I love
eventually it'll work out for you.
You know what I'm saying?
I love that perspective. But you know, let's get even a little bit deeper with that.
Go ahead, kid.
You know, you as a landlord that deal with a management company, right? So your property manager, you know, they have 10 units, 20 units, 100 units, 700 units, 1,000, 1,000, right? They're not going to treat your tenant like they're your only tenant. They're going to treat your tenant like a business. There's a process, you know.
1,000%.
They're not going to give them priority.
Great point.
You know what I'm saying, you as an owner, you know, because you're remote, you know, you're away from the market wherever it is. You in your brain and in your pockets, you spend it and you're willing to do it as if they're your one and only. You don't treat your one tenant differently. You treat tenant number 45. You treat all 45 the same, but the management company doesn't distribute it that way. The management company distribute it like a business. So if you have no heat, you got to make a phone call. We'll send somebody out after hours, whatever. It's a process. They view it like, oh, the owner don't care because at his house, he got heat.
Yeah, absolutely. 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 So the way you went property management, and that's great because we deal with property management across the board because my where I lived at a property manager owned it, ran it for me, ran it for the owner. So I get what you're saying. I absolutely get what you're saying. But if as the owner, if I'm giving you the money so you can fix the heat and it takes you 3 to 4 weeks to get it done, I need a new property management.
Yeah.
Right.
My game plan as an owner is to make sure, like you just said, every tenant feels like he's getting what he needs to get or she needs to get.
Right.
So my job is to vet you.
Yeah, because it's going to reflect on the owner.
Yeah. Correct. They don't talk about the property management. They talk about the owner. The owner is not fixing my heat. Me personally, I always spoke about the owner, not thinking about the property management. Now that I know,
right,
it's the property management that even if it slacks a little bit, it's the property management. It's not the owner.
And I know, DT.
Depending on the problem. I
know you went, but I'm going to be honest with you. I felt the same exact way, right? I felt the same exact way where I'm like, you're too, I maybe just ignorant to the situation where you don't understand a process.
That's kind of where I was going with it because, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but
go ahead.
And I don't know your reality, G, where you were just coming, like your perspective, because that's how you said that's how you felt, right? But I don't know if you were the tenant that was actually paying the bill, or you were the son, daughter, cousin, nephew of the person who was paying the rent. That you had that experience. So I was at one point in time, I was one of each. Okay.
Right.
Got you.
So at the moment of time when, even if I'm paying John Smith LLC.
Yeah.
Right. To my knowledge,
as the tenant or as the
tenant,
okay.
As the tenant, yep. as the house head of the household paying.
Understood.
Right. I don't care about LLC. I'm still thinking about that's the owner.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So me in my eyes, I'm just like, I don't care what you're doing.
Right.
The owner is not doing what he needs to do. And it's not the owner sometimes. It's just the property management sucks.
If it's not the owner, it's the representation of the owner.
Right.
1,000%. 1,000%.
Which could be the property manager, super, the family member who's running the property for him, whatever that looks like, right? There's a lot of different aspects of that. So we are not here to defend any one company, any one side, any one tenant, any one owner. But what we're here to do is, like, this is raw. This is unadulterated, like, reality. You know what I'm saying? We've seen all aspects of it. We've seen landlords that are slumlords. We've seen landlords that are not, but they're being accused of being that. But it's because of a lack of, the experience and or the service that's being provided to them by either the management or the person who's
they have in place.
1,000%.
So there's a lot. Whenever there's a relationship, right? There's always three sides to the story. There's his side, there's her side, there's the truth. The same thing revolves with real estate. There's a tenant side, there's the owner side, and then there's the truth, right? There's variables that make it healthy. There's variables that make it not healthy. As an owner, because I know we're bouncing around between owner and tenant things.
We are.
You know what I'm saying? But it's I guess it has we have no choice, right? Because we're trying to defend and provide state, facts.
You gotta get both sides of the story.
Right? To substantiate it, because you don't want to make it seem like, oh, this is just all bad for sounds like a nasty owner's podcast.
Damn tenants.
Those damn tenants. Like, you don't want to be like that, nor do you want to be like, I don't want to ever be an owner in my life, because this just sounds like terrible, content. You know what I mean? You just got to give facts on all ends.
Right.
But and then when you have, at the end of the day, as an owner, any owner for the most part, you buy a property and you want to provide any of your tenants with a good, healthy, safe living quarters. And you want to maintain that. Sometimes your brain gets stained because you have a bad experience, whether it's tenant experience or it's a property management experience. But at the end of the day, as an owner, your brain gets stained. Or you could be the most purest, highest level in your intent owner, but be misled and misguided by your management or your representation. And now the service you're providing is subpar, but your intent is there. But because the team that you've built is not right, now you look like shit, for lack of better words.
Right.
But your intent is there. You know what I'm saying? So now the
1,000%.
experience is the worst experience ever. And they rightfully so, when they send you a review or when they make that statement that you're the piece of shit, they have every right to do so, because your
reputation
represent you like a piece of, you know what I'm saying? So it's a lot to it, but I don't want to, take over the
and the other side of that is the tenant, right? Their perception. And so you could have a great landlord in place, or how can I put this? You could run into a great landlord, but because of your past experiences, you're over here thinking that, no matter what happens, they're the same old, landlords are this.
That's what I call your brain is stained. That's why I keep saying that.
I like that.
Your brain is stained. Yeah.
And that can go for a tenant too. I mean, you might have a hidden gem as a landlord. You see what I did there? Yeah. A hidden gem as a landlord. And I'm nice with this, guy. I'm nice with this.
Only on Thursdays.
And like I said, your brain might be, like you said, your brain may be stained already, so there's really no satisfying you at that point, because you've already been through it. And now all landlords are the same, no matter what. They're all slumlords.
1,000%.
And even if you run into, someone like us, where you live in one of our properties, H.G.R.G property, you're going to get tip top service, no matter where you're at. And, that might go by
there's variables. So sorry to cut you off. There's variables. So just because it doesn't happen fast enough, I'm gonna use DT's word. You become stained. So now, if it doesn't happen fast enough the first time, it doesn't happen fast enough the second time, it's over. You can't do anything right. You can't get right. So what happens is,
how many tenants you got that we refer to them as can't get right?
we got
we got a couple of those, man.
So what you're saying, it's like a baseball average, right? Because if you can't get right, you know, three or four times, and then the next 2 times you do, you're 2 out of 6.
Correct.
Right. So
and that's what it comes down to. It. So, and your job is to always try to give them the best experience, but stuff happens. Like the plumber is not around. We got to get another plumber, and that plumber is not our ace. He's not our go-to, but because my ace is not around, I'm using another one. And the other one doesn't do the right job, and now we having a problem. Now you have another stain in your brain.
That what you're saying right now, nobody says.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nobody says that. Nobody shares that information
because it's not sexy.
Nobody shares.
It's not sexy information, right? But this is stuff that landlords go through.
Nobody says that.
Yeah, it's real estate.
It's the real, man, and that's what we don't talk about anyway. But that's what we deal with. That's what we deal with, and I don't want you to. I don't want no sympathy. I'm just saying, at times, I have to make that call for the better of you, and it didn't work out to my advantage.
Right. So
now I have a negative point to me, but I was trying my best to get to you.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So as a landlord, it's not always I don't care.
Yeah.
It's sometimes I try my best to get to you, and it didn't work out to what I thought it was supposed to be work out to.
I couldn't have said that better myself, sir. You did a great job right there.
I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you. You know what happens? I guess I'm fighting for my job nowadays, huh?
Nah, it's so true, man. It's so true. It's Lance, I know you was going into it, so I would love to hear your point, because I'm sure you got a lot of pain back there too.
As a tenant, I had pain as well. I mean, that's why
I don't like when you stutter. I'm just being honest. I don't like when you stutter.
You know it's coming. That's why. But you know, I had a lot of pain growing up. We used to hold, you know, the bathroom sink up with a stick. You know, and I think I've actually mentioned that one time before.
Yeah, the vanity.
Yes, I mean, it's
couldn't lean on it too hard when you was brushing your teeth.
Yeah, that's reality, you know. And I'm like, man, this dude don't fix anything. But we were late a lot of times with the rent as well. So there's 2 sides to it. But I don't see it because, like you said, what were you? Were you the head of the household? Were you the nephew, the son? I was the son in that situation, and you know, and my mom took care of things. And you know, like I said, my perspective was, and my perception was, that this dude's a slumlord.
Landlord.
Yeah, it's always the landlord, no matter what. I didn't think of that. We were always late, or that his mortgage has to be paid on the 1st, but we paid him on the 17th. You know, like it's just, you know, you don't take all that in. Where he goes, you know what, your faucet works. It's staying up. There's your stick. Have a good time. You know, and it's almost like a battle.
Yeah.
It's
unfortunate, but most of the time it ends up that way, especially in 9 times out of 10, you know, if you have a tenant who's kind of like not the most responsible person, the narrative is going to be that.
Correct. And then as a tenant, let's say we go through some hardships at work, and I get Section 8. I use that in my advantage. I use that and go, hey, listen, they didn't pay this, they didn't fix this, so I'm not paying. But I didn't really have the money, so I stopped paying, and now I just told Section 8 to stop paying, and now we don't pay you until I get right.
Yeah,
that's what happens in that game, and in the tenant game.
Mid-lease inspections, property pop-ups, you know, all this stuff. So yeah, no, it's just a catch-22 when you're a landlord and you used to be a tenant, and you kind of understand it now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I remember. I'll tell you an example. This is our first property. My first property at dealing with ever. We bought it. Somebody did a walkthrough. It was 2 bathrooms, 3 bedrooms, and me and my wife had an argument because the downstairs bathroom didn't work 100%. And I was like, I don't have the money to fix it. So the upstairs bathroom works. So I'm good. I'm good with that. But the tenant came in thinking she had 2 bathrooms, 2 working bathrooms, and 3 bedrooms. So my wife and I had a dispute. Like, you gotta fix it. Find a way, because if that's the case, you're a slumlord. And I didn't understand it at first, but now I understand it. Like, that tenant came in thinking everything worked
as she should.
And so she bought it thinking I have 2 bathrooms and 2 bedrooms and 3 bedrooms.
Should. So
now I took that away from her. I said, I ain't got the money to pay for it.
As you should.
Wait a minute. so that goes. It just goes.
Yeah.
You just don't know the person's pocket,
or the mindset.
But you have to figure it out. Yeah.
Right.
Correct.
Right. Or the mindset, because you could look at it like this. Go, you know what? When I had my apartment, it had 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom. Then they can survive with 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and until I get to it. You know, most people survive with 1 bathroom in an apartment. You know, why can't you have 2 of them? I'm sure you can. I'm sure you can handle 1 until I get around to it.
Manage 1. 1 is good enough.
Yeah, that was my mindset. Like, yo, they get it done. Get out of here. You gonna be all right.
And these are all early stage, investments. They're all early stage.
It's true to me because I did not have the money, I didn't have the funds, and then that was my only property. Mm-hmm. So in that generalized conversation, that's what I was living with. But I had to figure a way, because this is what we signed up for. We found out that to be a business. Mm-hmm. So it goes to that account. So
I'm gonna let everyone know right now. You don't hear these stories anywhere else.
Yeah, you don't. I
don't care what anyone says. This is giving you real life experience of his experience about an argument with his wife about him being a slumlord. What are we talking about?
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Please go find it.
That's real.
Go find it and send it. Talk about it in the comments, whatever you want to do. But go find that. Yeah. When the person himself talking about an argument about him being a slum. I mean, come on. Come on.
That was my only and my first and only though. Because I understood it after she said it.
Look at him saving face now.
Oh, I got to now. She gonna see me on TV, guys. Now
That's right. But listen, and these some of the things with landlord versus tenants. It wasn't to make anyone look bad. We just want to give you realities of both sides. Before I wrap it up, fellas, do you guys have anything to add on to landlords versus tenants? Anything we might have missed?
I'll add in. If you're a tenant. I'm not gonna say be patient. I'm just gonna say there's always 3 sides of the story, like DT just said. I don't want you to be patient. I just want you to be. I just want you to be a little bit transparent with what your needs are, what you need, and speak to who you need to speak to. Just don't give up, but just be a little bit patient. Just be a little bit patient. I take that word back, because it works, but the owner tries sometimes, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah, sometimes it's a process, like DT said. There's a process correct. To it, and right. Whether it takes a day or 2, or maybe you're on the radar, we're coming, and we're there for you.
And for the owner, you got to treat everybody like it's your own one and only, man. Yeah, I really believe that, or your representatives have to treat them like everybody is your only one and only. So
that's a gem right there. DT, anything you want to add on?
Yeah, just a little a quick example. I had a tenant, right? So they had an issue at the property. They had no heat in beginning of the winter, freezing outside, no heat. The property is for sale. We are looking to purchase the property. Our realtor is in contact with the tenant because we're purchasing the property. They contacted them so we could do a walkthrough. The tenant contacts our realtor, tells our realtor they don't have no heat. Our realtor has nothing to do with the maintenance of the property. Our realtor contacts the seller. Hey, the seller's agent. Our realtor says, hey, listen, seller's agent, your tenant just contacted me and said they don't have no heat. I don't know what this means to you. I'm just letting you know. Seller's agent says, well, there's a process in place. If there's no heat, they got to call this number, so on and so forth. So they didn't do that. They called you because you answered the phone, and that's the number that they felt like calling. So he's like, listen, I'm sorry, man. I'm just relaying the message. No problem. The tenant calls Section 8. I called 35 numbers. Nobody answers. They're not listening. Long story short, who did you call? She really called the buyer's agent. I say that story to say this. The tenant in the property has lived there for 2+ years. I'm assuming, I don't know, I'm assuming that the management company in place explained to her how to make a call for maintenance or an emergency. She does not understand, didn't care, doesn't care. She bypassed all that and contacted the buyer's agent for a maintenance issue. At the end of the day, she is now suing the owner for no heat for 3 or 4 days or however long it was because she didn't follow the right process.
And call Section 8.
So now the owner has like a $2,400 list that he now has to fix to keep her, who just caused this whole problem in his unit. He has to pay $2,400 plus whatever comes up with this lawsuit and legal fees.
And he's not getting paid back.
He's not even getting paid back.
Yeah. Listen, this is the reality, and not to scare you guys at all, because all three of us will tell you right now, real estate's the way, and we would never shy away from it. And
that's what I was going to say too. Even with all these horror stories, and obviously we highlight all the ones that stick out the most. So they're going to be the worst of the worst, right? So all the examples we've given are the exaggerated ones. You know, they're not the mediocres and the day-to-days. They're exaggerated. They're the worst things you're going to deal with.
Right.
We still choose real estate.
1,000%.
100 times over.
Listen,
win. Guys, we appreciate you guys. Thank you, H.G.R.G family, and we'll see you next time.
Salute.
Yeah. What they saying? I'm so divine, imperfection, perfection, my presence shines. My mental's paraselling maritime. They say I'm destined to read the palm line. Yeah, I'm so divine, imperfection, perfection, my presence shine.